Sid Meier, the man that created civilization itself as we know it. And now, the man that also invented the pirate has made it all the way to the 6th installment of his long-running series, Civilization, and is now peddling some hardcore DLC. Civilization is a game about building your empire from the earliest knockings of human history. Only now you can also be the Empire of Australia.
G'day mate, welcome to Australia. What can I didgery fucking do for you?
The game allows you to play as many civilizations that shaped the history of mankind. Except for Brazil, I don't know why they let you play as Brazil. And then you get to go head to head with some of the most prominent figures in history. Teddy Roosevelt, Queen Victoria, Cleopatra, Gandhi, wait, no, it's not Napoleon, it's just Catherine de Medici. You get to strategize your diplomacy, warfare, trade, religion, culture, and science in order to obtain a number of victory types, like conquering the world, blasting a rocket to places unknown, or just having enough paintings and shit so that everyone thinks you're the greatest. The game is a nice mashup of alt history and strategy that can leave you saying just one more turn until it's 5:30 AM and you begin to question the meaningfulness of your existence. Or at least it did leave you wanting more until the latest release, Civilization 6. This game has been out for a little over a year and is now about to showcase a nice little DLC lineup that'll add a few more features and a bundle of new civilizations to play as, like Georgia. Boy, can't wait for that one. It's difficult for me to suggest that perhaps Civ 6 is bad since it's really still just a base game, considering the fact that the base game of Civ 5 isn't even a piss in the lake compared to the absolute delight that is Civ 5 with Gods and Kings and Brave New World. But the base game of Civ 5 still feels a lot more complete and playable than Civ 6 does right now. One of the worst things about Civ 6 is the AI. The lackluster AI has always been a bit of an issue with the Civilization series and makes playing offline a little dull at times. But the AI in Civ 6, especially upon release, was pretty fucking inexcusably bad. Random declarations of war, inability to actually initiate combat with their troops, downright fucking brain dead city placement. I'd pretty much seen it all within an hour or so of playing time of Civ 6. One particularly bad feature is the leader agendas. Each AI leader has a specific agenda and a hidden agenda which is given to them randomly and is different each game. For example, Gandhi is always peace-loving and dislikes warmongers, but he can also have a slight affinity for genocide. My favourite one is, once again, Catherine de Medici, who always hates people who don't have good espionage and spy networking. This is a bit of a problem when you're in the ancient era and spies and espionage aren't available, and France hates you because you don't have any spies or espionage because they're not available. There is quite literally nothing you can do to stop France from hating you early game. Quite literally nothing. I don't know if this has been patched out or whatever, but even if it has been, that's a pretty fucking big oversight. Also, I hate to pick on her more, but why is Catherine de Medici the leader of France? Like, not Napoleon? Louis XIV? Nah, the leader can be that Italian lady that was a queen regent for a couple of years. The agendas are meant to give each leader a bit of flavour, but their guaranteed one means that each AI plays pretty much the exact same over different games. And their hidden one often means that you'll end up with civs that hate you and you can't do a whole lot about it. Oh, look at me, I'm Brazil man, and I hate you because you're playing the game better than me. Rah, 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 rah. Get fucked, mate. Another dumb fuck thing about this game is a new city, district, and wonder placement mechanic. Unlike older Civ games where you could just build specialized stuff and wonders in the city itself, you now have to use up a whole tile within your city borders to build a district, in which you can build said specialized buildings, or to place an entire wonder in. This mechanic is fucking dumb. Really fucking dumb. Perhaps the idea is that cities now sprawl across the map a little more, but this mechanic means that land gets chewed up by these districts and wonders and leaves less room for actual tile improvements. I guess builders, in general just feel more useless in this game. Certainly less useful than in Civ 5. Having to place districts and wonders on tiles means that actual good city locations on the map are far sparser, as cities without good district placement will generally just be really shit. It also means that playing tall is pretty much not a viable option, and you have to play wide and spam your cities and eat up all the best city spots before some dickhead AI puts a city 2 tiles away in a shit spot, but that stops you from getting to one you want. And the AI isn't shy of spamming their shitty fucking cities either. Not being able to play tall is a problem, particularly when there are some civs that specialize in playing tall and are built around playing tall, but haha, no fuckface, you can't do that because you have to sacrifice all of your land to these dick fucking districts, and also you can only build like 3 wonders, so you fucking lose. Also, why did they nerf unit movement? Why, to be fucking annoying on purpose? You can't move on the rough terrain or across a river on your second move on Civ 6, seemingly just because Sid Meier hates his consumers. This is a pretty good example of them changing something in this game more or less for the sake of changing it. Unit movement wasn't ever broken in Civ 5, other than maybe the XCOM squads and shit. But being able to move onto a jungle on your second move wasn't overpowered. If anything, it made combat more strategic and smart movement more vital for success. City-states also work quite differently now. You send envoys to them and whoever has the most envoys with their city-state is their suzerain. Which means that they shift influence less often and it's easier to keep one in your pocket. But it also means you can't just fucking buy them all too, which is kind of a good thing, I guess. It's only like the 800th time I've said this in this video, but I have another big issue with this game. This issue being the graphics and art style. Sure, that's not generally a problem with a turn-based game, but it's not so much a problem with the aesthetic as it is with the functionality. When I first saw the trailers for Civ 6 and saw what this game really looked like, I was taken aback a little. The game looked very mobile. Kinda a lot like Civ Revolution. Oh god, it's a fucking iOS game. No, Jesus Christ, help. But this more stylized and cartoony look is certainly growing on me now, especially the leader models. I think these look pretty fantastic actually, some more than others, but I think they give leaders a lot more character and style. In comparison, the leaders in Civ 5 look a lot more flat and boring, so plus points there, Sid. The big issue is the on-screen map itself. Instead of having a greyed out non-visible area and fog of war, the map has the undrawn map and the charted map, which is just the areas of the map in which you have no visibility but have explored. This doesn't work very well. The charted areas of the map are a very similar shade of beige and boringness to the uncharted areas, and it makes the map a little confusing to look at. A lot of the time I was sending my scout over to areas of the map I'd already explored because I thought I hadn't. Again, I get what they're trying to go with a bit of an edgy aesthetic, but it doesn't work. You can't always sacrifice functionality and simplicity for an aesthetic. The other graphically lame thing is the interface. It's a lot less intuitive than the Civ 5 interface, though probably more so than the Civ 4 interface. Yeah, that's right, Civ 4 sucks dick, I said it. I also kinda don't like how units have far fewer representative models on the map now, which is more of a personal preference thing, I guess, but it's eh. Another issue with units is that the unit tree feels a lot less fleshed out than in earlier Civ games, and there are way fewer in-between units and gradual technological advances, so you're far more likely to see pikemen fighting anti-tank artillery. Musketmen straight into infantry. Renaissance straight into modern. No industrial melee unit. Dumb as hell. Not to mention the fact that there's no medieval melee unit upgrade for the swordsman. Really? No fucking medieval swordsman? You sure about that one, Sid? Great people also suck now. They all have their own specific little bonus, which isn't a good thing. It just makes them way more confusing, a lot more situation specific. And the way they can only be earned by one civ per type per era is also fucking stupid. One thing I did like about this game is that happiness, or in this case, amenities, is per city again, rather than for your entire civilization, so your expansion isn't so easily hampered early game as it is in Civ 5. I also like the re-addition of actual government types into this game, because this was lacking in Civ 5. Sure, there were the social policy trees, but you could chop and change between them, and there were never really any specific government types, at least not until you pick an ideology. That being said, the social policy system in Civ 6 isn't as specialized or as intuitive as Civ 5's. It also felt like it was just optimized for a touchscreen, which I'm pretty sure is what partly scared me into thinking this was just an iOS game being ported to PC or something. The game is also set to release its new Rise and Fall expansion pretty soon, which is selling at a decent $30 USD at the moment, which isn't too bad. But that certainly doesn't excuse the dickhead idea to sell single civs at $10 USD, which is a little fucking ridiculous. Sure, it's not Paradox levels of DLC scumbaggery, but I can excuse that because the game's a fucking god tier and the Paradox store is pretty regular sales. Funny how pretty much all of the best civs are the DLC ones, hey. Funny how that works. That couldn't be a coincidence at all. If this expansion and perhaps one or two more after it can send this game to the same heights as Civ 5 reached after Brave New World, then it might all of a sudden become a little bit more interesting. But many of the issues I have with this game are in the core mechanics. City districts, the rolling out of great people, it just doesn't work. I just really don't think I can enjoy this game. Certainly not as much as I enjoyed Civ 5. Civ 6 just seems to try a little too hard to be different and edgy. It got rid of some of the best mechanics of Civ 5 and they decided to come up with some new stuff that just didn't work all that well. I guess you can't expect them to release a game with basically no new stuff and it's just essentially a graphical update of the previous game. Because then when you start playing it you think, hey, why did I spend $80 on this when I have Civ 5? Although, a few hours into Civ 6 my thoughts were, hey, why did I spend $80 on this when I have Civ 5? Unfortunately, I simply just cannot recommend buying this game when you can just buy Civ 5 instead. Sure, there's Australia and shit on this game, but there are plenty of other Australian workshop civs for Civ 5, and they even have one with Bob Hawke, which is definitely a better choice of leader. There's something else that is wrong with this game. Something that, in reality, has been a long-running issue throughout the Civilization series. There aren't any whoopers in it. Yeah, that's fucking right. It's taken them 6 fucking versions of this game, and old mate Sid still hasn't put any whoopers into his games. Are you fucking kidding me? No whoopers, Civ. No whooper units. No fucking whooper anythings. It's like some kind of sick joke that's just never gonna end. I mean, Civ 5 doesn't have whoopers either, so obviously it's also a piece of garbage, but at least the mechanics are good and the game is a lot of fun. Civ 6 is a double whammy with shit mechanics and no whoopers either. It's a real shame, because I had some decently high hopes for this game, but it really fell short in the end. The fact that it doesn't have whoopers in it either obviously and understandably fills me with pure rage and undying hate for the human race. Especially people called Sid. Fuck that kid from Toy Story. Sid Meier, I'm calling you out personally. Put whoopers in your game right now. And I don't mean put them behind a $30 paywall with Rise and Fall, I mean add them as a free update. And if you don't, I will pirate a copy of Sid Meier's Pirates. Yeah, you see what I did there.